Hi guys, Vinny here, and today we're going to be making some salves and cosmetics. So this will be part one because it takes at least 24 hours for this part to be completed, and then tomorrow we will do part two. Okay, so let's do an introduction to the herbs first. So over here we have mugwort, which is really good for sleep and muscle relaxation. Here we have yarrow, which is antibacterial and antifungal. Here we have some common plantain, which is really good for burns, bites, and other skin irritations. Over here we have some elderberry leaves, which are really good for removing freckles and beauty marks and also wrinkles and keeping your skin looking young. But also it's really good for sore muscles and bruises and stuck blood, which brings us over to ground ivy or ale hoof. And that is also really good for bruises and stuck blood, but it's also great for your skin, itches, bites, and that sort of thing. And then lastly, over here, we have some jewelweed. Now this is for poison ivy, poison oak, poison sumac, spider bites, mosquito bites, any sort of skin irritation caused by nature can be solved with jewelweed. It's actually a common, it is what is in the poison ivy remedy soap, but it grows wild here in New England, and you can pick some and make your own. So the herbs look a little sad, but this is exactly how we want them to look. The reason is because you want some of the water to evaporate out of them before you put them into the carrier oil to infuse. Too much water will end up getting stuck, and then if there's any water in the salve or the cosmetics when you're done, it can cause mold to grow and the cosmetic to spoil, and we don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do first is we're going to pair off our herbs into the various different salves that we're going to make, and then I am going to chop them up. So first we're going to be doing the mugwort, and this is kind of like rosemary. You just peel the leaves off the stem and remove the top. And we're going to do that for the whole pile that I've got in front of me. And then once the leaves have been removed from the stems, we're going to weigh it, and we're going to see how much we've got. Now the stems you can actually use as well for something else. So we're not going to use them in our salve today, but you can actually save them and dry them out, and they make really good kindling if you're trying to start a fire. They also smell really nice, so there's an added benefit there. Also, burning mugwort will help keep the insects away. So this plant really has a lot of uses, and as it's invasive, we really don't want to be throwing any part of it at all into the compost, especially if you're picking it at this time of year, because now is when the seeds are produced and it flowers. And you probably wouldn't even notice the flowers if you weren't looking for them, because they're very small, they're very green, and they're not really very showy. Okay. So we're almost done with the mugwort here, and this is the last stem. Okay. So we're going to weigh this out next. All right, so we're here over at the scale, and as you can see, almost 80 grams of mugwort. So I'm going to chop this up and divide it in between these two jars of an equal weight, because that's about how much of this I will need for myself for the year. So we finished dividing up the mugwort between the two jars, and now I'm going to start working on separating the yarrow and putting that in as well. So this is dried yarrow, so it is completely moisture free. Again, like with the mugwort, we don't want to discard the stalks when we're done. They make excellent kindling. They also were used by the ancient Chinese in a form of divination, where the questant would throw the sticks, and then the oracle would interpret the answer to the question based on the way that the sticks landed. Something fun you might want to try out yourself. I don't really know any more than that, so I can't tell you exactly how it works. but I'm sure if you did a quick Google search, you could find something. Um, we're adding yarrow because it will also help close blemishes. It has really good coagulant properties, and that's not something, um, that's always something that's good to have. Next, we're going to do the common plantain, and as I said, this is really good for skin irritation, so I'm just going to cut this up and then add that to the jars as well. Lastly, we're going to do the elderberry leaves, so just peel them off the stalk. Oh, we got a little hanger on in here. This is bittersweet, we don't want that. That's an invasive species, and as far as I know, has no medicinal benefit to this sort of salve, and is actually toxic at even. But it is very pretty in the fall and can be used in decorations. So we're also going to save the stalks for the elder plant, and those can be used medicinally as well. I can't exactly remember what it's for now, but I think it has something to do with like purging something from the body. But anyway, so we're going to cut up these leaves and add them to the nighttime salve that we're making right now for sleep and relaxation, and also to keep your face nice. Next, we're going to add in the ale hoof, and I have some dried here that I'm going to use from last year. Dried herbs are great to put in a salve because they have, as I said earlier, no water in them, so you don't have to worry about making sure that water from them evaporates or that they're wilted before you put them in. One great way to wilt them is to leave them in the trunk of your car overnight, especially in the summertime. That's what I did with these, or you could leave them out on like a wire table or in front of a fan. I'm not a big fan of the dehydrator because sometimes it gets a little too hot, but if you have one that has a really low setting, like 85, 95 degrees, then that would probably be all right. So lastly, we're going to add chamomile, and this is dried chamomile, to the salve as well, and this is also really good for your skin. So is calendula, if you're looking for another herb. I don't happen to have any calendula, which is why I'm not adding it in. But the chamomile is also nice for sleep, as it provides a calming effect. And this is a salve that I put on my face before I go to bed every night. I've been making it for, this is the third year now, and I'm very happy with it. So as we just add the last of this chamomile in, and I'm spilling some on the counter, but that's okay because we're going to scoop it up and put it in the jar when we're done. We are going to put in the carrier oil that we're going to use. So today I'm going to be using coconut oil and olive oil in an equal mixture because that's what I like for my skin, but you can certainly use another carrier oil or add a third to that mixture if you would like to. So let's bring these jars back over to the scale, and we want enough oil to cover the herb material completely. So let's, I hope I have enough olive oil. If not, I have plenty of coconut oil. Want to give the herbs just a little massage because the oil doesn't filter down as quickly through the dry ones, and we want to make sure that we get a good reading. So now let's put in some coconut oil. And I actually like a little bit more coconut oil than olive oil I know I said 50-50, but this just feels a little bit softer on your skin, and it doesn't leave sort of that oily residue that sometimes olive oil can leave. I'm going to put in a little bit more olive oil on the top because we want to make sure we've got enough head space above our herbs so that when this heats up, they have a little bit of room to maneuver in there, and they're all submerged more or less completely throughout the entire process. Let's put in some coconut oil. Just give it a real quick shake. Maybe a little bit more. All right. So now these two are done, and I'm going to do the same thing with the jewelweed and the salve for bruises. Okay, so we've cut up all of our herbs and we've added them to the jars, and now they're going to sit in a bath on the crock pot for 24 hours on low. And I may turn it down to keep warm depending on how hot the water gets, because we want them to infuse, and that's a pretty low temperature. You want to keep them uncovered or covered with a porous surface so that any residual water can escape. And we will come back to this tomorrow.